of you. So as you're coming in, please let us know where you're viewing from. And if there's a certain member of your family that you're really curious to kind of learn about tonight and how they're going to experience their Disney cruise. So Crissi, do you want to introduce yourself as people are coming in?
Absolutely. And that is actually the first slide of my presentation is my introduction slide. So if we could pull that up. So I'm so excited to present to you guys today about autism success stories and recommendations. And my first slide kind of shares why this is so special to me. So I am currently a travel advisor, and I love all things theme parks and all things cruising. But I'm also a lifelong, except I'm the older sibling. So I, I've been a sibling of autism for 30 years, even though I'm a little bit older than that. And it's very just near and dear to me. Vacation experiences with my brother are just something that I have so many amazing memories of. And I'm so thankful that I've been given that opportunity to kind of learn how to vacation with somebody that's a little bit different and really learn how to communicate, how to be prepared. And now he is one of my favorite travel buddies as adults. We go on, do stuff together all the time. He's amazing. But prior to kind of fully, delving into the travel advisor career, I've worked as an ABA therapist and also as a special needs educator for 15 years. Some of that overlapped with my travel advisor time. And it's just a community that I'm so blessed to be a part of and so proud to be a part of, because I've learned so many amazing things from other siblings of autism and from working with children with autism. And it's just wonderful to get to help them have amazing vacations now.
Yes. Oh, well, I love that this is such a great topic for you to talk about because of your personal connection. And we do have a question here about, you mentioned you're a special needs educator. What does that mean exactly? Were you in the school?
So I taught in public school. I worked in the high school setting. And then prior to that, I also was an assistant in an elementary school setting while I was, working on my degree. And then I left in order to go into private therapy after a couple years in public school.
Awesome. Well, you are a great resource. And guys, as we're going through, if you have any questions for Crissi, please feel free to put those in the comments. We're going to do our best to get to as many of those questions as possible to help you and your family have that perfect Disney cruise that's really specialized and customized for your family's needs. But if you have any questions, maybe something that's a little more personal, feel free to reach out to Crissi. Her planning services are completely free for you to use. So if you just shoot her an email or set up some time to hop on the phone, she's more than happy to help you plan your perfect Disney cruise. So be sure to send those questions in either via email or in the comments now. But Crissi, you take it away.
Alrighty, so I made this presentation and it's super general because one of my favorite things about my job is getting to know my clients. And I can tell you that whether there are special needs involved or not, every client is so different. Even if they have children the exact same age, their interests and needs are so different. And it's really a cool part of my job to get to know. And so I've made a very generic presentation with just some success stories first, because that's awesome to hear. And then some quick tips and tricks to kind of manage things that are pretty typical across the board among my clients. Even clients without kiddos on the spectrum have some questions about some of these things. So I'd like to start first with two success stories. And these are from clients that super recently traveled, like just within the last month. I kind of asked them to reach out to kind of give me a quick paragraph summary of their, Disney Cruise Line vacation experience. And I have taken all kind of like identifying info out. So it's just, clients with a child age 6. She's a little girl, super sweet. This was their first family vacation that they actually all enjoyed. My daughter had everything she needed to enjoy herself in the kids club and all of her dietary needs met in the restaurants. Our favorite moment was seeing her meet Princess Belle. Her father waited in the line and let everyone waiting go in front of him until we arrived after having a treat. My daughter met Belle without many others around, so it was very quiet, and Belle took her hand, sat down with her, and we have photos and memories that we will never forget. So that was like such a great success story to hear. And this was from a tip for me about remembering that Disney does only require one adult to actually wait in line to meet the characters. So you can kind of take your kiddo around. They're still waiting, right? They don't just get to like cut to the front of the line, but they don't have to stand there in line. They just need to be around and then kind of wave to each other when it's your turn to go. And then my other success story is a totally different client. They've sailed Disney Cruise Line multiple times with a teenage boy, and they love sailing Disney Cruise Line because the staff takes the time to get to know the kids, even when they are teens. Our son is encouraged to try new things, but no pressure if he just wants to watch. The main dining team also knows his favorite meal is chicken nuggets and have that already coming out to our table when we arrive after we ask on night one. And that's another one of my tips coming up, is to communicate with your staff. Obviously, you want to have the best cruise possible, but so does Disney Cruise Line crew. They want you to have the best experience possible, and they will do everything that they can to make that happen for you. But it helps them so much if you can communicate what will help you. They don't just magically know. They do their best. So if you have that conversation with your dining team, with your room attendants, with the kids club crew, about expectations and about what will help you, right? Don't just sit there and present problems. What will help you? Hey, it's super helpful. You don't even have to give him a menu. He definitely wants chicken nuggets. If those can just already be coming when you bring out the adults' drinks, amazing. And they'll do that. You just got to tell them what it is you need, and they're more than happy to accommodate.
Oh,
Rebecca, I
so
can't see the
great.
screen. Do we have any other questions?
And not right now, but not any that had come in, but just in general, we were getting questions before about kind of like the check-in process. Like, do you let the counselors know? Somebody submitted a question and said, is there a certain badge or sticker that they put on their kids club band to let the counselors know that their son has special needs?
Perfect. Yes. So I do recommend that clients fill out a special needs services form. There's not like an identifying like autism band. In the past, there is a band for like allergies, and that was the same kind of band that was used for kiddos with the special needs. So anything that's kind of listed in their kids club registration process, but it won't like, it's not like blue with a puzzle piece or something like that. Like there's no like clearly autism label, but there is something just so that all the crew members know to double check before interacting. And this is not just for autism. It was first put into place for kids with food allergies. Now there's not even food in the kids club, but obviously that's something that counselors need to know before ever giving food. Now there's no food in kids club, so don't even worry about it. But that's when the kind of distinct bands first started in kids club.
Good.
And filling out that special needs services request form really just gives the crew a chance to kind of know ahead of time. They can have a little bit more, awareness in the kids club. But this is something that, autism is prevailing everywhere. And so your kiddo will absolutely not be the only one. It will not be a surprise to Disney Kids Club at all. And they are more than well equipped and well trained to give your kiddo the best experience possible. If you're even using Kids Club, it's not necessarily something that's mandatory in order to have an amazing cruise.
And is that something that you help with as a travel agent, or is that something that your clients would do on their own?
Absolutely. So every travel agent is different, but I do personally assist my clients with the special needs service form. If they would like, they'd like to fill it out on their own, that's totally fine too. And then I also work with all of my clients, just kind of having a conversation about what strategies work at home, what might transition well to the cruise, what questions that they have about potential concerns on the cruise, and how we can prevent that ahead of time, whether that involves, here are things to say to the cruise staff to help them out, or here are just things that you can do to, help yourself out. And we can kind of pull up the next tips for setting up for success.
Yes.
So really, I love this phrase, set up for success, in like everything that I do, right? You don't want to like just jump into something not having a clue. Set yourself up for success and set your child up for success by giving them the tools to succeed. And that starts at home. So I definitely recommend packing comfort items from home, whether that's sleep items, favorite snacks. You can bring food on board as long as it is in the original factory sealed container. So unfortunately, that does mean like no homemade, trail mixes or whatever. It does need to be in original factory sealed containers. But you can bring snacks on board, bring their iPad. A lot of parents, I think, feel like, oh, we're going on vacation. But if that is something that helps them, absolutely bring it and have their favorites already downloaded. So you're not using Wi-Fi. They can take it out. They can watch something that they love while you're at dinner. Totally okay. Totally okay. Headphones would be wonderful, but not even mandatory. Totally okay. And bring their favorite things, like your favorite toys, things that that they love at home. Go ahead and pack it. Obviously, you don't want to pack an entire suitcase of it, but pack what is essential so that they can feel comfortable and have have what they need. One of my other slides later kind of talks about sleep specifically, but really take a second to think about what things will help them to transition because you're in a new place. And then creating communication assistance if there are communication barriers. And I wrote like in Kids Club, but this is really throughout. Go ahead and a great option for communication assistance is a little like a bracelet that you make that just has like name, like my name is Crissi, my favorite thing is bubbles, and like my, some things that can make me a little bit upset are loud spaces, right? So just some things, right? Focus on the positive. Really focus on the positive. What are things that Crissi loves and will help her out? And that way, if you aren't there, there is some sort of cue to help out. And the bracelets that I use are like they look kind of like medical bracelets. They're disposable. You can bring a bunch of them and really simple. Type on them and easy peasy. And if you're not comfortable with that, no worries. But try to set up some type of communication with your kiddo ahead of time, right? If they do have some functional communication, teach them that it's okay to ask for things. Teach them to sign for bubbles. Teach them to communicate what it is that they want. And so that way you've got that strategy already in place. And then use that time, and then we're going to get into Kids Club later, but make sure that you also explain those communication tools that you've set up ahead of time with the Kids Club staff. Practicing dinner. This seems so silly, but one consistency, no matter who I'm talking to, is that people are busy right now. And having dinner at the same time every day is like really, really challenging when you're at home. So we're not in the routine of it. So if we can try for that, like, a couple weeks to a month ahead of the cruise to just try, hey, we're all going to try to just sit down, even if it's just for 10 to 15 minutes, and try to get into that routine as much as we can, especially if it's you have the second time dining, but you're used to an earlier dinner or the other way around. Also look at time differences. If you are in a different time zone, like that you may want to take that into consideration too. But get in the habit of kind of sitting down and taking a little bit of a family meeting kind of thing to create that part of your routine so that now you have something consistent. And then the easiest thing to do is watch ship tours and identify favorites and then maybe not so favorites of areas on the ship that your kiddo is going to love and be drawn to, and maybe things that maybe we want to avoid, right? When you start to see ship tours, you'll notice there are certain areas of the ship that just always have people in them, and then there are other areas that are pretty calm and chill. And so if your kiddo is somebody that likes those kind of spaces, keep that in mind, so that you can always know, hey, you know what, we can just go to the art gallery. It's pretty calm there. And that you can have your own kind of chill out space, and, a little bit more convenient and closer than your stateroom.
Yes. And I know we get this question all the time of, I booked a little bit later and main seating was closed, or I really want second seating and that one's sold out. Do you find that people can easily switch once they're on board or off the wait list? And if they can't, do you have tips for kind of how to cope from there?
Yeah, so definitely know that once you're on board, you do have the option of going to see go straight to the restaurant, or you can go and see guest services and ask to be switched. Does it happen for most of my clients? It somehow magically does. But do I find that that's like official Disney policy? No. So you can't necessarily bank on it happening, but it also certainly does no harm to ask. If you do have a dining time that is maybe not ideal for you, what I do really recommend is to look at what other parts of your schedule you can adjust in order to make it seem more typical. So can you try to sleep in? And now your second dining time isn't as late. You've just kind of like put your whole family on a new time zone. Or opposite, can you use that main dining as more of a like snack and dessert, and go ahead and order room service at 4:00, 4:30, whatever. Order it, have it on your balcony or in your room, or swing by the pool deck and grab some quick service, and have a little dinner earlier. Like just have 2 dinners. Why not? Enjoy. And so that way you're still enjoying the rotational dining restaurants. The adults can eat later, but the kids are already fed and they're not, cranky and hungry and tired. But yes, you can go see them on board and ask to be switched. Should you, bank on it happening? No. But is it likely? Yes. And if you are on the wait list, generally those wait lists gets, announced. You're pretty close to sailing. So if it's like still a month or 2 months prior to sailing, that certainly does not mean you won't get taken off the wait list. I've had clients get moved from the wait list just 1 week prior to sailing. So it definitely can still happen, and it's absolutely worth requesting to be on the wait list. But even if it doesn't come through, you can still ask on board.
Yeah, I was gonna say, people get so freaked out or worried when things take so long. I mean, we did a guarantee rate on our last cruise, and we didn't have our room assignment until 2 weeks before. But you got to keep in
Yeah.
mind their crew is, some people are going on vacation, some people are coming back on the ship, so they're trying to figure out where their people are before they can kind of fit us all into that puzzle. So don't fret if it's like Crissi was saying, even a week before and you're still on the wait list for that. And like she said too, Disney wants you to have the best cruise, so have faith in that.
Yeah. So we can transition into some tips on board. And I do have 2 slides on this, but the first 2, kind of big areas of concern that nearly all of my clients bring to me are Kids Club and dining. And the first thing that I talk about with Kids Club is that it is an amazing service that Disney Cruise Line offers, but it is not mandatory. And that you'd be surprised how many, especially first-time cruisers, kind of think like, well, the kids have to go there. And that's not true. It's a wonderful place. There's so much activities going on, but most of the ship is family friendly. There is an amazing adults only portion that I certainly enjoy, but you can absolutely have an amazing cruise with your whole family without using the Kids Club. If that's something that you're not comfortable with, it is absolutely okay, and you are still getting an amazing cruise with an amazing amount of family activities that are not in that Kids Club space. However, if you do want to use Kids Club, we can make it work where Disney Cruise Line crew can meet your child wherever they are. And the best tip to set up for success is to attend during open house when adults can go with them. I think I saw that question come up in the group earlier today about can adults go with their children into Kids Club? And the answer is no, except for open house. During open house, anybody can go. It's amazing. You don't even have to have a kid. You can go and play in there. It's great.
Right?
But also, it's important to note that the staff is there. It's not just, hey, come enjoy this space. The staff are there. So it's a great opportunity for parents to attend with their child. And what's Crissi's favorite phrase? Set them up for success, right? Go in there. You know your kiddo. You know what they love. Find it and take them to it. Right?
Yeah.
And set them up for success by showing them this area that they're going to enjoy, and take a second to talk to the staff that's right there, because most likely that staff is generally in that area. Magic, right? And instead of just dropping them off and be like, peace, right? Give them that opportunity to make them feel safe, to make them show that you are in this space with them. And that will also, if you're kind of borderline about whether you're comfortable leaving them or not, it's totally okay. And this is a great conversation to have with your agent about, everybody's situation is different. Every kiddo's level of communication is different. And it's scary as an adult when you leave your child somewhere and you know that your child isn't fully able to communicate with you what happened while you were gone, right? It's very scary, completely reasonable fear to have. But you can trust that the Disney Cruise Line crew is amazing at what they do and your child is safe. But if you are on the fence about that, open house is a great way for you to experience and for you to make your decision, right? Register them for Kids Club, go to the open house, but it is okay if you decide, you know what, I'm just not comfortable. There's plenty of other things to do on the ship, but at least you got to go there and experience it with them. Open house will always occur on the boarding day of the cruise, and it's usually like 5 to 6 hours, like from boarding time through dinner, basically. And then every day of the cruise, there's open house for an hour in each of the Kids Club zones. So it'll be an Oceaneers Club and Lab in the morning, and then they'll also have another hour over in Legend Vibe. And that, like, anybody can go to that too. You don't have to be a teenager. Go hang out at the Teen Club open house. It's fun,
Yes.
And use those times throughout your cruise. If you're not comfortable leaving your kiddos at Kids Club without you, like, look at your navigator, know when it's open house, and go explore, because you can take them into open house and let them play with other kids. And you can, kind of have an open house time with other parents. Totally fine. But then if you are, using Kids Club, really use that time to meet the staff and communicate with them about your kiddo, about their areas of interest, also potential difficulties. It is okay to talk to staff about what might be difficult for your child. They're not going to be like, that sounds like a lot of work. You need to go. No way. They're gonna be like, oh, thank you so much for giving us a heads up about that. A lot of kiddos have troubles with whether it's sharing toys or loud noises or, surprises, or changes in schedule. A lot of kiddos have trouble with that. We are very well trained, and we will make sure to help with that situation if it arises. And then you can also explain what your child's level of participation is. It's okay if your kiddo is more of an observer than a doer. Totally okay. If they want to kind of just hang back and watch the dance party instead of being in it, totally okay. And you can just let the crew know that, and they'll do their best to make sure your kiddo has the best time possible. Do we have questions about the club before I move?
Yeah, I was gonna say the biggest question we got was, how does Disney's staff compare to other cruise line staff? Is this gonna be the best option for my kids?
So really, I would say, and it's no secret, Crissi loves cruising, every cruise line. No secret. Crissi's always on a cruise. Disney Cruise Line staff is highly trained. They are also all degreed in some type of childhood or education related field, which is unheard of in the cruise industry, with the exception of Disney Cruise Line. So you can always kind of keep that in mind. Another kind of, side note, amazing story that I have to share is that I had clients from Germany sailing, and their son didn't speak English. So I called Disney Cruise Line, let them know. And not only did they have a German-speaking kids club member on site, but she was from his same hometown. How cool is that they went to that level of research? So that is the kind of care that Disney puts into their kids club staff. They are all very well trained. They are all there because they love working with children. There are plenty of other positions on the ship that they could choose to do. Plenty of other things. We've chosen Kids Club. So you can know that they're a phenomenal team. I'm certainly not going to say that other cruise lines teams aren't phenomenal, but Disney Cruise Line does an amazing job at what they do.
And then the only other question I'm seeing on Kids Club right now is about communicating if you do leave your kids. So how do I know to come back and get them?
Yeah, so you'll be able to get a notification from your DCL navigator if you need to come pick them up. And then they can also contact you directly by your room phone and your wave phone if needed. But you can also just you don't have to leave them there all day. You can go and check on them too. And I highly recommend that strategy. If you're at all concerned, start in short segments, right? Keep it positive. You go and pick up before there's a need for an intervention. Start with, just, hey, look at the kids club schedule. Okay, look, they're doing arts and crafts with Rapunzel. We're going to go do that. And then I'm going to pick you up afterward. They're only there for an hour. And that's an hour that you get to do something amazing on the ship. And then leaving before you're needed to come back will set them up for success on the next visit as well.
Yeah, I was going to say something you brought up in another session that we did was even doing stay for 5 minutes, see how you like it. I'm going to go and get coffee and come back. So even
just go get coffee, come back.
Your kid best, but see that, build up that tolerance or kind of that experience in the kids club, and know that you're feeling just as comfortable as they are, because we realize it's not just about your kids' comfort, it's about that peace of mind for you too.
Exactly. They're going to feed off of your energy so much, so much. So, if you want to keep it really short, that is totally okay. Honestly, just going in the space is the coolest part for a lot of kiddos. They don't need to be there all day, just exploring it. And then almost every kiddo that goes to Kids Club and loves it also loves the activities on board throughout the ship that they get to do with their family too. So, even if your kiddo's Kids Club experience isn't an all day thing, there's still going to be so much that they enjoy, and you get to enjoy it with them. So, personally, I get, kind of bombarded with questions about Kids Club, and I totally understand why. But when my clients get on board, they realize, oh, we actually had so much more fun as a family outside of Kids Club. I don't know why that was such a massive concern. And that's just something that you learn with experience cruising. So
everybody has different things that they love to do on board. Some people, they just trivia hop all day, and that's their big activity as a family. And we did get a question from Kristen. If we give them permission to check themselves out of Kids Club, is an alert set through the app letting parents know that they've checked out?
Yes. So you will get an alert that they have checked themselves out, and you do have to give permission. It's not just assumed. And so yes, you will get an alert to go find them. And I highly suggest that if you go that route, that your kid knows where to go. So that they're not wandering. So tell your kiddo if they are checking themselves out that they're basically told that they need to meet you either at the stateroom or at, kind of give them one of two places that they can expect you to be. And, most of my, parents that are having their kiddos leave Kids Club on their own say, hey, we're either going to be at our stateroom or we're going to be at Cove Cafe. And so when you leave, those are where you need to check. And, if you're in that adults only area and you know that your kiddo can check themselves out of Kids Club, then you need to kind of be alert and checking to make sure that, your kiddo isn't approaching looking for you.
Yes. Being respectful of all the other adults in the area. I love that.
Absolutely.
Okay. On to dining.
All right, on to dining. So the Kids Club and dining are my two most common, kind of areas of concern among my clients. And dining is always a good laugh because really sitting down to eat for an hour and a half is hard for everybody, and it's like totally okay to be like, gosh, I just don't know how that's going to go, because I feel like plenty of families with, no special needs concerns whatsoever are like, man, that's hard. I don't know if we can do that. And then again, you get on board and you realize that it's such a magical environment. Your dining team is so attentive that hour and a half flies right by. You don't even realize, you're like, gosh, we were just being entertained this whole time. And the food was so delicious and the atmosphere was so wonderful, especially some of the newer ships with, the Frozen restaurant and Marvel, where there's characters involved. Like, it goes so fast. But some tips to help if you are concerned is the first tip I always recommend is to go ahead and request private dining. This used to not be like as common. Now it's right there in the app or online. You don't even have to call to do it anymore. And you don't need a reason to want private dining. You can just request it. And to date, I have not had a request get denied. It could happen, but I've never had a request not happen. If you request private dining, you get it there on board, and for some reason there are people at your table and that's a concern for you, always, again, they want you to have the best cruise possible. Politely talk to your dining team and ask to, have a private table moving forward. You could, also assume that you're getting private dining if you have a very large group. Used to be the case, but now you still want to put in that request. We have seen families of 6 or even 7 be paired with a family of 4 and 3 at some of Disney's really big tables at seat 10. So just keep that in mind that, a lot of people used to think like, oh, I'll never be with another family. My family's so big. That's not true anymore.
Wow.
So request private dining if you think that will help you out. And then also note that it's totally okay to ask for something not on the menu. Staff will absolutely do their best. If it's something like, a lot of my families are saying, hey, my kiddo just wants like chicken nuggets and like plain pasta, no sauce. No problem. My kiddo only eats French fries. No problem. Ask for a plate of it. Totally okay. The menu is there. You should try the stuff. It's delicious. But if you know your kiddo best, so if you have that, need, absolutely just explain to your staff what your kiddo needs, and they will do their absolute best to make it happen for you. I guess I kind of put these in an odd order, but I should have started with the last one about specialty diets before I went into asking for things not on the menu. But specialty diets like gluten-free, or low sugar, dye-free, it can all be accommodated, but you do need to declare it at time of booking or by filling out a special services form if you don't declare it at time of booking. And Disney does a phenomenal job working with special diets. I think we just had a video about allergies, right?
Yes.
I learned so much, and I sail with an allergy, so that was awesome. But you do want to declare it at time of booking. And then throughout the day, you guys, the menus are all in the app. So you can avoid that time of sitting down and be like, I don't know what I want. You could do that ahead of time. Like while you're getting ready for dinner, while you're just like, in between activities, pull up the menu, get an idea of what everybody wants. So that way, when you get to the restaurant and you're like, whoa, this place is so awesome, and you're looking all around, you can just do that. You don't even need to look at the menu. You already know. It's amazing.
Oh, that's such a good point.
And then my side note too is not most of my families kind of have this as a backseat option or a back burner option, however you want to explain it. You don't go into it with the idea that we're only going to be here half the time, but know that is always an option. If it is just too long for you and your family, you can always ask to have dessert sent to your room, or even your whole dinner sent to your room if that's what you need. They are more than happy to accommodate that if it's, just too long, or if maybe one of the kiddos just needs a break and one of the parents leaves, you can have just their meals. Totally okay. Room service 24/7 is an amazing thing that Disney Cruise Line offers, but the main dining room is also happy to assist with that if needed. No problems.
And question for you on the main dining room. So we've been getting this question so frequently about where is the best place for us to sit. So how do you work through that
Ah,
with your client? Because that's
so I
something
think this kind of came up. It's like a more popular question now that it's also in the app as, can I request by a screen or a center of the room or by, or a quiet area? And that answer is really going to be different for all families. What I will say in my personal experience is that the dining rooms, there's no bad seat. Like anywhere in any of the restaurants. They do a great job of, really kind of spreading out the tables. One, they have to do that so that the servers can all get everywhere. And then if you are at a place like Animator's Palette with screens or Rapunzel's with, characters added, or the Arendelle or World of Marble, they don't just come in and stand there. They're moving all around. So every seat really does have great views and great interaction. So as far as having a great seat, it's going to vary based on your needs. And so really, I only kind of really stress about that quiet table option. If you are really concerned about noise, one, I also strongly recommend packing headphones, comfortable ones, whether that's in ear or over ear, whatever is more comfortable for whoever needs it. And then go ahead and request that quiet table. You will be further out, either on the edges of the restaurant, not usually all the way in the corner, but kind of on the edges. So keep that in mind. That's kind of what Disney considers quiet. And it's not going to be silent or anything. But the other nice thing about it is that generally the tables around you also requested a quiet table. And so you have this kind of I don't know, camaraderie is the right word. But generally you have less rambunctious tables around you. Not that anybody is rowdy at dinner. I'm not accusing anybody of being too rowdy, but generally you have other people that look for a quiet table as well. If you request one of those, you're all kind of seated together on the sides of the restaurant.
And speaking of quiet, so we have another question about just hopping back to the kids club. Are there quiet spaces in the kids club if your kid needs some space?
Yeah, so there are, and it's not like a formal, like a timeout area or anything like that. Like you're not allowed to talk here, like a library. But generally, again, that's why I really recommend going to the open house, because you'll get a really good feel for those spaces. And basically, at any given time in the kids club, about half of the areas have some type of structured activity going on, and half of them don't. And so looking at the spaces, and the kiddos can identify, oh, I'm going to go over here into the Pixie Hollow because there's literally nobody there, and I can just kind of sit on a tree stump and take out some crayons and do my own thing. And that area is highly recommended if you're looking for a kind of a calm down place. The center area, the dance club area, not so much recommended. And then it's also something that, a lot of times I encourage my families with kiddos that are in need of sensory breaks and kind of cool down spaces to establish a little bit of a communication, a little signal with the kids club crew. This is totally not a new concept. They will not look at you like you're crazy. They'll be like, oh, sweet, okay. And if you teach your kiddo to just kind of signal or wave, or just kind of raise their hand a little bit to just say I need something, staff will know, hey, and let's redirect you to somewhere kind of calm. And it's easy peasy.
And I know that we're talking a lot about the
but again,
kids
you want to set yourself up for success.
Oh, sorry. If I know we've been talking about a lot about the kids club staff, but what about the dining room team as well? Are they just as good with kids?
They are just as good. Again, you do want to communicate, right? Especially, there's so much to your child that is not just so obviously visible, right? So if you communicate to your dining team, hey, he really, really, really needs, things to be quiet. We don't need, some of the dining team will come over and do little magic tricks and stuff. And if that is just not your kiddo's thing, just tell them ahead of time, he likes to be spoken to softly, or, I'm just going to order for him. Or if it's the opposite and you're like, hey, he's super sweet, he's really into this or that, just tell them. And they are phenomenal as far as building relationships with their guests.
Awesome. And I know that kids menus, they are still printed out. So if your kid really likes to color,
Mhm.
they have options where they can get crayons
Absolutely.
and a kids menu. And I mean, heck, as an adult, I still get the kids menu because the games are fun
Mhm.
and who doesn't want mac and cheese with their dinner? So know that
It's a
that's an
free
option
souvenir
too.
too.
Right?
No, frame it. Yeah. And then kind of some other areas that I get asked about, not quite as frequently, but other things are stateroom, character meet and greets, pool. That's actually another pretty big one. And then deck parties, because this is something that will kind of come up very soon in kind of researching your cruise about what to expect on board. You see a lot of info about the various deck parties on board.
Yeah.
So for your stateroom, the travel is tough on kiddos of all ages and all levels of need. Sleeping in a different space can be really tough, and so really consider what you can bring from home to make it familiar. I've had families bring their own like pillowcase from home and just put it on top of the one from Disney Cruise Line, so they've got something familiar there. Bringing a favorite blanket. Make sure that you bring sleepwear that your kiddo is comfortable in. This is so silly, but we see so many times like, oh, we got matching family jammies, or we got this, and like, it's such a cute idea. And then my kiddo's like itchy, there's a tag, there's this, he's hot. Bring what your kiddo likes to sleep in. Like, make it, again, set yourself up for success. Set it up how your kiddo likes to sleep. Look at how they sleep at home. Do they sleep in their own bed? Do they share with you? Do they sleep with siblings? And let's look at the different sleeping arrangements offered with Disney Cruise Line to make sure we're picking the right stateroom for you. Even if you're a family of only 3 or 4, it may be, best advice to look at one of the family size staterooms so that nobody needs to sleep in the top bunk, right? Everybody has a lower bed. Like, there's all kinds of different things that we can consider in order to make sure that we have the best environment possible for you. Is that 2 connecting rooms? Is that, just packing a little body pillow to kind of create a little snuggled area, all kinds of different things. And then also know that you can request bed rails from Disney Cruise Line, as well as pack and play too for really little ones too. So lots of things to consider to help with the stateroom and sleeping in general. And then the only thing that I also didn't mention is that a lot of my families that are looking at, especially inside rooms, but all rooms, really want to consider packing some type of night light too, because I can almost guarantee that it will be darker than what your kiddo is used to. So having some type of light situation for the room is helpful if that is a sensory, thing that your child may need some assistance with.
Such a great point.
Anything else about staterooms?
No questions on stateroom.
Alrighty, so then for characters, this one is something that it's so special to Disney Cruise Line, right? Obviously, Disney Cruise Line is the only cruise line where you can meet Mickey Mouse. How cool is that? And it's something that I think that we think seems so obvious, right? Like, oh, I just go wait in line and my kiddo is going to meet this character and it's just going to go magical. And it might. Hopefully it does. But you can also, again, set yourself up for success a bit by prioritizing, because unfortunately characters do have lines, right? So you can get there first, try to arrive 10 to 15 minutes prior, so you can be in the front of the line, which while you're still waiting, you're not watching other people interact with that character while you're waiting. And that can sometimes be harder for kiddos. Like, why is it not my turn yet? It's a lot easier to wait when you're not actually seeing Mickey Mouse right there, right now, right? And then eliminating the line, the physical line, by having one adult wait and the rest of the party kind of circle around the atrium until it's your turn. But the thing that I find the most helpful is truly prioritizing. Identify which character of the day is the most important to you and do that one. Trying to do all the characters is going to be a lot of waiting, even if you're not in line. So really look at which one's most important to you, do that one. And then, hey, if you happen to stumble on somebody else later, amazing. And then really try to facilitate the interaction, right? The characters do an amazing job of interacting with the kiddos, especially the ones that are able to talk. But you can help them out by facilitating it a little bit. Have your kiddos show them something. It doesn't even have to be anything. Like, you can, show Mickey Mouse your cool shirt. And it now gives them something to do, right? It's not this intimidating of like, go say hi, right? Yeah. Saying hi might be really hard for your kiddo. So give them something easy to do, a task that doesn't require expressive language. that way now, like it just facilitates that initial walking up. And then once they walk up, the character's going to take it from there, and they're going to do an amazing job. But bringing a toy or bringing an autograph book, go show them your book, right? You don't have to go through and like find the page. Just go show Mickey Mouse your book, or go show Mickey Mouse your toy. Or if you didn't bring anything with you, show them your shirt. Show them your pretty smile. Show them your like whatever, but give them an action to do as opposed to just kind of, look, here's Mickey Mouse, go figure it out, right? Help your kiddo with those tools to facilitate that interaction.
Awesome.
And then our next stop is the pool. This is also asked frequently, and it's something that I think you really can benefit from by just peek at the pool schedule hours, and just avoid the middle of them, because that's when it's going to be the most crowded. So arrive there when it first opens, or go late at night, especially if you have the late dining. Another great option about late dining that's not often considered is that a lot of people will be getting out of the pool at like 3:30, 4 o'clock to go get ready for dinner. And you won't have to. And so that's a great time to be in the pool when it's much less crowded. The slide lines can get long, so kind of saving those things for the evenings. If slides are your kiddo's thing, I definitely recommend saving it for the evening. And then another note is that there is not flexibility about swim diapers in the pools for kiddos with special needs. It is a hard rule, and definitely just keep that in mind. Know that they can still use the splash pad area. But it is something that a lot of my clients are a little bit surprised by, that they're like, oh, well, there's some special needs. But this is a strict rule for sanitary purposes. There are not swim diapers allowed in the pools, regardless of disability.
Got it. And a question for you. We did get a question submitted asking about this woman's daughter is 26, but has autism, and she isn't comfortable with her daughter in the pools. Can her daughter use the splash pad?
It is designed for kiddos under, I want to say it's either 42 or 48 inches. So can she? Sure. Technically not on the rules, but can she? Really, as long as you are there and with her and helping her and making sure that she's, being respectful of other peers, it's not going to be, she's not going to be kicked out or anything like that. But you don't want to send her there unsupervised. You would definitely want to go and make sure that it's supervised. But there is a height, like a suggested height limit. However, parents are there with their kiddos too. So it's,
Got it. Okay.
But technically there is a height limit.
Good to know.
And then for deck parties, this is something that as soon as clients kind of start looking into Disney Cruise Line, they'll start to see like, oh, there's pirate night, and oh, there's a sail away party. And all these things are super fun, and they get really excited about it. But the problem is everybody's really excited about it. So they're very overstimulating kind of events. And for some kiddos, that's just great. Fantastic. They love it. It's a lot of energy, and they may not be participating the same way other kids are, but they are really kind of feeding off of that energy around them, and they love it. And then for other kiddos, not so much. And that is okay. What I always like to advise is the characters come out at the start of those parties. So be there before it starts, be right in the front, get to see Mickey and the gang come out to lead the sail away party, and then peace out. Go have your sail away party somewhere else, whether it's in your stateroom on your balcony waving by, whether it's in the atrium where it's much quieter, or even just on the other side of the pool deck, where it's not so crowded. And then same thing for pirate night, right? You can be down there by the main pool area in the thick of it, or you can be up on the higher deck kind of watching from a distance and still get to see a lot of it, still see the fireworks and have a great time, but not quite be in the midst of all the overstimulation.
Yes, that's such a good point.
That was kind of all my general stuff.
Awesome. Okay, well, we did get a bunch of questions submitted.
Fantastic.
I know, so one kind of plays off what you've been talking about, but the shows. Is there a best place to sit if my daughter gets overwhelmed and overstimulated with fireworks in the shows?
Oh, sorry. So those shows. Okay. So the deck shows, again, if you're planning on kind of not staying for the entirety of the show, you can, kind of stay towards the backs of the pool decks to kind of be able to see the fireworks, but not be in a throng of people. But if we're talking about the stage shows in the theater, the Walt Disney Theater, there are seats that are near the exits in the back, and those are a great option if you don't think that you're going to be there the whole time, or anywhere as long as you're on the aisle. That way you can easily get out and you're not, interrupting the view around you. But also just know that like it's family cruise line and it's very forgiving. There are plenty of kiddos that go and might be a little bit chatty during the show. Parents do their best, right? But you won't be the only ones that need to leave, right? It is okay. So it's not something that you super need to panic about. But I do suggest just to be respectful of other guests to sit near the aisle.
Awesome. Yes, great advice. And your point about it being a family cruise line, we got this question 3 times. Which ship and which itinerary would be best for my daughter? She has special needs. And then just a variety from there. Somebody has an adult daughter with special needs, and 2 had there was a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old. Is there just like a blanket recommendation?
So I don't really have a blanket recommendation. If it's your first cruise and you have some special needs kiddos or special needs adults too, and we can make a presentation later about special needs adults, because I do think that is something that's growing in the kind of autism like awareness community, right? Like I said, my brother's 30 now. Like, I still see him as a little kid, but in reality, he's not. And children with autism do grow up to be amazing adults with autism. So and they can cruise too and have a great time too. So maybe that'll be in the future. But as far as recommended sailings, it's really the same recommendation that I make for first-time sailors at any time, is to look at your schedule and go with what works for your family's schedule. If that's a 3-night cruise over the weekend, do it. If that's a 4-night cruise, Monday to Friday, and then you have the weekends on the other side to recover, do it. If your family's like, dude, we've got this week in July and we don't know what to do with, go on a cruise, right? It's not the itinerary or the cruise or the length that's going to make it work for you and your family. It's all the steps that you take to set yourself up for success, no matter what sailing you pick. So I do have like a little bit of a preference towards the smaller ships, Magic and Wonder. I do find that they're just a little bit less crowded in general. And then, dude, when you're at Castaway on the Wonder or the Magic and nobody else, like not another ship is there, oh my gosh. It's amazing. You can just really feel a difference in crowd level compared to the bigger ships. And so that can be really a great factor for anybody, that just wants to have a quieter time. And that might not be everybody, but those are the ships that I lean towards. However, the Wish is the one that's doing the 3 and the 4 nights out of Port Canaveral. So really, any ship's going to be great. You just need to set yourself up for success to make it great.
Yes. And we hope that the tips that Crissi has been able to talk through tonight, we already have somebody saying that they love the information. So I'm so glad that you guys were able to join us. I love the idea. We did get several questions about specifically adults with special needs. What can they participate in? Can they go to the kids clubs? So it sounds like we might have another event in the future that we
we'll do that at some point, for sure.
But any kind of general recommendations there, or the same kind of things that we've talked through tonight probably apply as well?
Yeah, so same kind of things we talked about tonight would apply, except I do really encourage some advocacy, right? So when you are planning anything, trips, anything, when you're working with somebody, an adult with special needs or a teenager with special needs, is to involve them as much as possible. Give them that advocacy, because when it's their choice about something, you're going to have a much better response, right? So show them first, let's just answer that quick question, is that the other kind of hard rule, right? There's no swim diapers allowed in the pool, and there is not anybody allowed in kids club except for during open house when they are not a kid, unfortunately. That is a hard rule. So, regardless of disability, I get that all the time. Oh, my son is 19, but developmentally only 6. He can absolutely go to the kids club, but only with you during open house. And that is, purely it's a liability thing. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I know it's hard because it's not what you're used to in other settings, right? You're used to being able to take them to playgrounds or take them to kind of kid-centered events, and it's totally okay. But in this setting, since there are Disney staff responsible for the children there, it is a hard rule. But you can still go during open house, and open house is awesome. Enjoy it. It will be okay, promise. But really the other side of the coin is advocacy. Involve them as much as possible. Let them pick what they do as much as possible. Show them the awesome things on board, the shows on board, the destinations. Ask them to help pick excursions as best to their ability, right? You might ask and they're like, oh, I don't know, right? But at least they got that opportunity to see it all, right? And they're included as much as possible to give them that advocacy of their own choices.
Oh, I love that recommendation. There's so many great things to do on board, that having that freedom and flexibility in your day. You have the navigator and everything that you can do in the app. So there's so much planning that you can do each day. And depending on what they love, I know Chrissy's made this point about finding like a spot on the ship that's their spot. So maybe there's somewhere that you've watched the tours and you know that they really like the princess chair right off the atrium. You know, it's a little bit of a quieter corner compared to the center of the atrium. So you'll be able to kind of craft what's best for your child, so that your whole family can have an amazing vacation. But thank you guys so much for all your questions today. This has been fantastic. I know I've learned a lot. If you have any questions for Crissi, or you need any help planning your next cruise vacation or vacation in general, reach out. She is very willing to help. She was saying how much coordination she was doing today with all the weather that's happening.
Weather's crazy.
Yes. So if you guys need any help, please send her an email. I will put the link. To this in the comments to her page, so you can shoot her a note. And we did have somebody ask if this is getting recorded. It is. So I'll include a link back to this as well, so that you can share it with your family. But thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you, Crissi. And we will see you guys on board. Bye all.